We want a new beginning, something different, something new.
That awkward silence when Kody and Robyn were asked if it's weird moving without the family, that wasn't sadness. That was guilt trying not to speak. The question, is it weird not having the help of the whole family for a move, landed like a grenade wrapped in bubble wrap. The moment it was asked, Kody and Robyn exchanged a long, uncomfortable silence punctuated only by nervous laughter. It was a perfect encapsulation of what they've become, performative, tone-deaf, and painfully out of touch. Instead of offering a normal human response, something as simple as, "Yeah, it's a little harder with fewer hands helping," they opted for awkward giggles and a hasty transition to the next question. The act is wearing thin. The reality is obvious. They hired movers and didn't want to admit it on camera. The "we're just moving patio furniture" excuse was a flimsy cover for the fact that they paid people to do the heavy lifting. Even the realtor casually suggested they should bring the movers back to finish packing. The pretense that they were somehow managing the move all on their own was laughable. But then again, self-delusion has become their brand. Kody and Robyn like to rewrite history as though the rest of the family never helped them with anything. That narrative doesn't hold up. There's plenty of footage showing the original wives and children hauling boxes, packing rooms, and doing the grunt work that Robyn herself avoided. She was notoriously unprepared during their Vegas move. Nothing boxed, no plan, just chaos, while the rest of the Browns scrambled to save the day. It's no wonder the older kids have no interest in repeating that experience. By the time Robyn's next relocation rolled around, everyone else had learned the lesson. Stay far, far away. Their silence in that interview wasn't humility, it was defiance. The same childish, passive-aggressive routine Kody pulled during last year's tell-all, refusing to answer, hiding behind smug expressions, pretending the question didn't deserve acknowledgement. It's a power move wrapped in petulance. They think silence makes them look mysterious. It actually makes them look guilty. Watching them squirm over such a basic question was unintentionally revealing. They were clearly trying to project sadness, as if the question struck a nerve about their fractured family. But their attempt at remorse rang hollow, arrogance wrapped in faux sorrow. The editors, thankfully, let it play out uncut. Their discomfort tells the story better than any dialogue could. Then came the kicker. Kody casually admitted they were now rushing to sell Coyote Pass because they need the money for their new house. So much for the grand family vision. The land that was once sold as a unifying legacy is now just an ATM for the last remaining duo. Robyn's behavior throughout was equally telling. Her signature pursed lip smile appeared. Tight, controlled, almost frozen. Body language experts call that a sign of internal conflict or hostility, and it tracks perfectly. Her upper face performs calm. Her mouth betrays resentment. It's as though she's barely maintaining the act. The broader truth is impossible to ignore. These two haven't lifted a finger for anyone else in years. The idea of them loading a U-Haul for one of the kids is laughable. Their world begins and ends with themselves. The giggling and evasiveness weren't nerves, they were a protest, a refusal to participate in a narrative that doesn't flatter them. And yet, for all their control-freak tendencies, they seem genuinely surprised when the show's editors stop protecting them. This season, the mask is slipping. The once carefully curated image of a misunderstood couple is dissolving into a portrait of self-importance and selective victimhood. The silence, the smirks, the giggles, they all reveal the same truth. Kody and Robyn aren't misunderstood. They're just insulated, arrogant, and completely unaware of how transparent they've become. This isn't luxury. It's a 7,000 square foot cry for help. It takes a special kind of delusion to buy a 7,000 square foot house for 2 adults and a pair of remaining children, while the rest of the offspring are grown, married, and deeply uninterested in ever returning. The others have long since graduated from the family circus, and one can hardly blame them. After watching years of financial favoritism and emotional neglect, the last thing they'd want is to gather beneath the vaulted ceilings of yet another shrine to excess. The house itself, an enormous monument to emptiness, feels less like a home and more like an echo chamber for regret. It's difficult not to notice the pattern. When happiness can't be bought, another dream home conveniently appears on the market. Every purchase is an attempt to plug an emotional void that no amount of square footage can fill. The spending spree also has a strategic undertone, tying up every asset until nothing remains to pass down to the original children. The financial endgame seems clear. Die broke, but die with granite countertops. And for all that opulence, the result is tragic comedy. A multi-million-dollar home finished with cheap, luxury vinyl plank flooring, the kind most people install in rental units. Calling that opulent is like calling a gas station pastry artisanal. The aesthetic screams budget ballroom, and no amount of chandelier lighting can disguise it. Even the moving process betrayed the illusion, hauling boxes in a small white trailer like college kids on a budget. Evidently, the money ran out somewhere between the mortgage and the moving van. The irony deepens when one recalls how this same couple preached about creating a welcoming space for family visits. Yet every design choice, every inch of sterile opulence, underscores how hollow that promise really is. No one believes the adult children will flock back for holidays. The house isn't a gathering place. It's a mausoleum for what used to be a family. Then there's the unsettling dynamic between the two leads in this tragicomedy. Watching them together feels like being trapped in a room filled with synthetic air freshener. Forced, suffocating, and slightly nauseating. The cheerfulness is artificial, the laughter rehearsed. There's something disquieting beneath that polished exterior, a kind of moral vacancy that radiates through every camera frame. She wears a smile like armor, concealing a sharpness that has quietly carved the family apart. He, meanwhile, struts about convinced he's the patriarchal visionary, oblivious to the fact that he's little more than a puppet in designer jeans. Even outsiders have noticed. A former reality show co-star recently described him as slow, a word that lands with the uncomfortable accuracy of a dart hitting its mark. One might add, easily manipulated, for good measure. It's almost poetic. The self-proclaimed head of the household too dim to realize he's been outmaneuvered by the very person he believes depends on him. And let's not overlook the finishing touch of this entire display, the property itself. That dream home backs up to a cinder mine. Nothing says luxury quite like dust clouds and respiratory hazards. It's especially ironic given the household's infamous obsession with health protocols. Evidently, the rules of self-preservation don't apply when the view comes at a discount. In the end, this house isn't opulent. It's haunted by disconnection, resentment, and denial. A 7,000 square foot symbol of emotional bankruptcy. The walls may be expansive, but the hearts inside them couldn't be smaller. They call it a mansion. I call it a $2.2 million monument to bad taste and delusion. Did the show really expect viewers to applaud as Kody and Robyn dragged us through yet another oversized dream home tour, this time of a $2.2 million monument to bad taste, while Janelle cycled through apartments, an RV, and now her daughter's spare room? The hypocrisy would be almost funny if it weren't so grotesque. Viewers have watched Janelle try to stretch every dollar while Mrs. Brown and her perpetually unsatisfied entourage whined about not having enough space. The contrast was not flattering. And let's talk about this so-called mansion. Opulent, Kody calls it, though the only thing lavish about it is the price tag. The place is an architectural shrug, big, brown, and stuffed with builder-grade finishes that haven't seen an upgrade since the Obama administration. The floors are dreadful, the layout uninspired, and the design screams real estate listing from 2010. Even Truly's own room doubles as a guest room, because why not make it clear where she stands in the hierarchy? Financial prudence has clearly left the Brown household, assuming it ever lived there. Kody and Robyn spend like Powerball winners with a 2-year expiration date, all while claiming to be misunderstood victims of circumstance. Their history of poor money management has been an open secret since the early seasons, when their children recalled eating stale bread for dinner. Fast forward, and the man who once relied on others' support now funnels every resource into Robyn's comfort, while the rest of his family fends for themselves. The irony is rich. Robyn, who hasn't worked a day since joining the family, has managed to live off the earnings and sacrifices of the other wives, then turn around and play the part of the weary homemaker cramped in a 7-bedroom house. The lack of space, of course, isn't architectural, it's psychological. Their house is bursting at the seams because they hoard furniture like they hoard self-pity. They moved into a fully furnished McMansion and then dragged every stick of their old life with them, apparently allergic to the concept of decluttering. At this point, a yard sale could fill an entire episode, though that might hit a little too close to home.
The shopping addiction between Kody and Robyn seems to be the one genuine connection they share, a shared compulsion to consume, decorate, and overspend as a substitute for meaning. It's a match made not in heaven, but in a credit card statement. And like most addiction-driven pairings, it's bound to end the same way, in financial ruin. Their inevitable bankruptcy looms like a poorly painted accent wall, inevitable and entirely self-inflicted. The show, meanwhile, has become an enabler, funding the couple's delusions of grandeur while the audience watches in mounting disgust. It's hard to root for anyone when the moral of the story seems to be that irresponsibility pays well, as long as there's a camera to capture it. Janelle's minimalist living, for all its struggle, stands as the only adult decision in this circus of excess. She downsized intentionally, choosing simplicity and savings while waiting for the long-promised Coyote Pass homes that will likely never materialize. Living with Maddie and Caleb makes sense, especially with Caleb's health issues and the kids needing help, but it underscores how wildly unfair the family's financial priorities have become. Kody should have insisted on stability for her in Savannah, but he was too busy building Robyn's empire of beige. In the end, the Brown story has devolved into a morality play about greed, denial, and the absurd lengths people will go to preserve an illusion of success. The mansion isn't a symbol of achievement. It's a mausoleum for every value the family once pretended to have. The saddest part of Sister Wives isn't watching the family fall apart. It's realizing the show has been dead for years, and TLC's still propping up the corpse. At this point, watching Sister Wives feels less like entertainment and more like a contractual obligation, both for the cast and the audience. The show has limped far past its expiration date, dragging itself through episodes so devoid of energy they could double as sleep aids. Once a fascinating look at plural marriage, it now resembles a family group chat no one has the heart to leave. The latest episode? Excruciating. There's nothing left to explore, no genuine emotion to mine, and certainly no intrigue worth tuning in for. TLC would do everyone a favor by calling time of death and rolling the credits one last time. The only remotely watchable spin-off potential lies with Mary, if she's given her own dating show, that is. But even then, enthusiasm for watching her awkwardly flirt would be charitable at best. The rest of the family's storylines are trapped in a loop of dull repetition. Christine's segments, once lively and defiant, now slog through a strange mix of overproduction and monotony. Her relationship with David adds mild humor, but not enough to justify a full scene. Mary's painting nights with friends are so stiff they could have been filmed in a wax museum. Janelle's content, while blessedly peaceful, is hardly compelling television. Ironically, the most telling proof of their happiness is how unwatchable their lives have become without Kody's chaos. Meanwhile, the show's remaining drama revolves around Kody and Robyn's latest self-inflicted financial mess. Watching them grieve over yet another oversized, overpriced house as if it were a symbol of tragedy rather than ego is peak absurdity. Their melodrama over bad memories in the old home is a transparent cover for what it truly is, an upgrade justified by crocodile tears. And then there's Mykelti and Tony, whose every appearance seems designed to test the limits of human patience. Their relocation saga could have been summarized in a single line: they moved. The end. Christine's overreaction to their road trip weather was unintentionally comedic, the kind of overblown concern that would make a storm chaser roll their eyes. If there's any lifeline left for this series, it would be a complete shift in format. Scrap the soft focus confessionals and orchestrated tears. Turn it into a documentary, An honest, psychological autopsy of how the family functioned and fractured. Show the hidden footage of Kody shutting down discussions, the power imbalances, and the quiet resentment that fueled their unraveling. Conduct a forensic audit of the family finances, the grocery bills shouldered by the wives, the Vegas mortgages Mary and Janelle paid from their own incomes, and the way funds somehow flowed toward Kody and Robyn's dream home. That at least would offer substance, a belated form of justice for the women who were financially drained and emotionally dismissed. But as it stands, Sister Wives offers none of that depth. It's a hollow retelling of a story everyone already knows, sanitized and stretched to fill airtime. The only moment of genuine interest left is the eventual sale of Coyote Pass, the symbolic closure this family has long avoided. Once that land is gone, the narrative will be too. And perhaps that's the most poetic ending possible. The wives moving on to independent, untelevised happiness, while Kody and Robyn rattle around their oversized house, still insisting the dream isn't dead. For viewers, it is. The fast-forward button has become the real main character of Sister Wives, and it deserves top billing.
They didn't escape their past. They just upgraded it to a larger floor plan. Kody and Robyn's latest declaration of leaving bad experiences behind is less a statement of growth and more an exercise in delusion. The belief that a new house will somehow erase a decade's worth of emotional wreckage is almost charming, if it weren't so pathetic. Kody seems convinced that geography, not accountability, is the problem. Unfortunately for him, the square footage of his Arizona McMansion won't magically lure back the children who've long since given up on his performative self-pity. This, if you build it, they will come fantasy is particularly laughable coming from a man who has spent years alienating his family while insisting he's the victim. He could purchase a palace on every mountain in Flagstaff and still be dining alone in its echoing halls. Robyn, naturally, remains the exception to his misery. A wife whose every comfort is treated as divine entitlement. No other partner enjoyed the same luxury, but apparently, God provided this home as a reward for their collective betrayal. Divine intervention, or just karmic irony. The irony deepens when remembering their televised promise that the grand house would serve as a family space. It's since become a monument to their isolation. For a man so fond of folksy proverbs, one might expect Kody to appreciate the wisdom of wherever you go, there you are. But introspection has never been his strong suit. Instead, his restlessness reads like compulsion, a pattern of self-inflicted chaos he tries to outrun. He poisons his own environment with bitterness, then abandons it once it's unlivable, only to repeat the process under a new roof. Ultimately, Kody and Robyn are united not by faith or family, but by two shared addictions: consumerism and self-deception. Their solution to inner turmoil is always transactional. Buy something, move somewhere, spin a new narrative. Even the property's ownership through an LLC hints at the same calculated detachment that defines their emotional lives. The pattern is clear. When reality becomes uncomfortable, they pack it into boxes and call it healing. What they're really doing is running. Again, from the wreckage they created.
They say a leopard doesn't change its spots. Kody Brown just upgraded his cage. It seems there is no bottom to Kody Brown's well of excuses. The man could be standing in his sprawling new palace, gazing lovingly at his perfect, shy, pretty soulmate wife, surrounded by symbols of the wealth he once loved to flaunt, and still find a reason to be utterly miserable. It's a talent, really, to have everything one ever claimed to want and remain chronically dissatisfied. Over the years, Kody's list of grievances has been impressively diverse. The Utah legislature, separate houses, the Las Vegas Raiders, Christine's independence, COVID, Janelle's Christmas tree, and even the apparent lack of square footage in his multiple mansions. Each obstacle, no matter how mundane, becomes another chapter in his favorite narrative: how the world has wronged Kody Brown. If self-pity were an Olympic sport, he'd have gold medals hanging next to Robyn's decorative throw pillows. His trauma, of course, is largely self-inflicted. The chaos that ruined the last home was not divine punishment, but the natural consequence of his own choices. Yes, catching COVID was likely accidental,
But if that alone justified moving, half the country would be real estate shopping. And yet, amid every sob story, what does he talk about most? The divorces, the shattered marriages, all treated as tragic events that happened to him, not as the result of his neglect and favoritism. Kody has mastered the art of victimhood. He cannot utter the simple words, "because we want to," without transforming every decision into a sanctimonious martyrdom saga. And like a true leopard, he shows no sign of changing his spots, only the size of his habitat. The latest episode's highlight? Watching him purchase an even bigger house to store his sentimental clutter and ego. The supposed opulent home, though, is less palace and more cautionary tale in bad taste. A property sitting near a cinder mine, outfitted with cheap vinyl flooring, and complete with a kitchen so small it could barely accommodate one of his endless excuses. When the value inevitably drops, one can only imagine the next act of his melodrama. Kody as the tragic real estate victim, lamenting the cruel market that failed to recognize his suffering.
Meanwhile, his youngest daughter, Truly, is offered the privilege of a space in the guest room, as if she were an occasional visitor, not a child. The message is clear. She may be family, but not his real family. The irony is bitterly perfect. So here we are again. Another episode, another house, another round of crocodile tears from a man who broke his own family and still can't understand why the pieces don't fit together anymore. The episode itself was as lifeless as his empathy. Watching Kody justify his next purchase was less reality TV and more public therapy session, without the insight. At this rate, Truly will be in college long before that guest room ever becomes hers. And when it all falls apart, as it always does, Kody will undoubtedly find a new villain to blame. Spoiler alert, it still won't be him.
When the cameras stop, the truth starts. And the Brown family's biggest secret isn't about love, it's about money. At this point, the Brown family's reality television empire resembles less a portrait of plural marriage and more a group project where everyone's goal is simply to keep the TLC checks clearing. Authenticity? Optional. Continuity? Unnecessary. The only consistent theme is self-preservation through selective storytelling. For years, the Sister Wives clan has relied on a rotating carousel of half-truths to maintain the illusion of harmony, and the steady stream of network money that comes with it. Even Christine's supposedly candid book reads more like a carefully edited public relations exercise than an exposé. Her restraint is conspicuous, almost strategic. After all, one can't air too much dirty laundry when the family's golden goose might respond with a lawsuit. The show's biggest fabrication, however, isn't emotional. It's financial. Back in the Las Vegas era, viewers were spoon-fed an elaborate narrative about shared finances. Every dollar pooled together, every bill managed under Kody and Janelle's responsible stewardship. Then, almost overnight, the story shifted. Suddenly, each wife had her own income in separate accounts, complete with a storyline about Christine bravely writing her first check. TLC presented it like a feminist awakening. In reality, it looked suspiciously like a rewrite designed to hide cracks in the system. The family pot became the show's most convenient mystery. Was it a collective emergency fund? A college savings pool? A personal slush fund for Kody's dreams of grandeur? Depending on the season, or the mood of the confessionals, the rules seemed to change. Christine later implied that her entire income was deposited into a fund Kody controlled. Janelle and others hinted it was only for shared expenses. So which version is true? Did anyone actually keep records? If Kody misused that money, why hasn't anyone demanded legal accountability?
The contradictions are endless, but the motive is clear. The family's unity is less about love or faith and more about liquidity. As long as TLC keeps filming, everyone plays their part in the charade. But when the cameras finally stop rolling, the polite silence will shatter. The dam of well-rehearsed diplomacy will burst, and the truth about the money, the marriages, and the myth of Kody Brown's benevolent leadership will finally come spilling out. Until then, viewers are left watching a family more devoted to its brand than its bonds. One can only imagine what the older children might say after a few drinks and no cameras. Judging by the fragments already slipping through, it won't be a redemption arc, it'll be a reckoning. Subscribe. because the real story always leaks before the rerun.